What?
Because if you're closing, doesn't that mean that you're probably taking the assistant position?
Oh, probably. Yeah, that's likely.
And if you do that, then that means she'll probably be the one that moves up.
Probably. Because that means that I'm the only one that's ever on a ship by myself, left alone, meaning that I'm running the other half of the show. That's typically how that goes. Like, you know,
It's not
like
an official.
GMs either run the night or the day, and the assistant usually runs the opposite of them, just like Mike and Ricky, just like Jason and fucking Frank. Actually, they were like a couple. Huh. Tony, I guess, but Tony was like, hmm. Eric Ward. Happy Traders Day. Ha ha! Yeah, I forgot the British. Yeah, Happy Traders Day. Yeah. Now, dude, I actually looked up a lot about like George Washington. He was apparently like psychotic, like pretty crazy. I mean, not like General Custer level psychotic, but pretty fucking close. I mean, the Irish definitely made a name for themselves in this country. Was their way of getting back at the Christians for wiping out all their pagans.
Go fuck yourself. There's never any snakes in my
Oh, could you give me a soda, Mom? Please.
I'm sorry, I really don't have
Yeah, American history is pretty insane. Most of it is, yeah, it's like fuck tons insane. Like Irish, Polish, German, and obviously African and Asian. Like, did you know about like the frickin' like them building the railroad system was literally they like killed a bunch of Asian people, like literally like blew them up like a few times or whatever, like just to traverse the freaking like country with the railroad system. Like so many immigrants came and died just to like build whatever we call America today. It's all built on blood, sweat, and tears of immigrants, and now we like shit down immigrants' throats. You know. But then again, every country kind of sucks. Like every person that like postulates like they're better than another like country or that they're better than a like culture or race of people. Every culture and race of people have done like fucked up shit since the dawn of time. Like humans just suck like as a standard. And I think people get a little too high and mighty about like how unfucked they are compared to another like race or culture of people. I think we're all kind of fucked up in our own deranged little human way. Just looking at human history, cannibalism, let's just say Moloch. Moloch was worshipped across the Mediterranean and Middle East and African cultures, and literally people would offer literally their children to the fire, and like that evolved into sadomasochistic frickin' cultures of Abrahamic beliefs and so on and so forth. The fact that what is it, out of one out of every 200 people is related to Genghis Khan. Like our entire history since the dawn of time has been fucked. Like most of the cannibalism in the country, even though people or around the world actually came from like North America, like the Native Americans that everybody said was so lovey-dovey and everything. They literally partook in the most cannibalism, and that includes Africa and the Middle East. Um, that was the ancestral Puebloans, by the way. There was a lot of drought, and they like did a lot of cannibalism. You know, people forget about the Aztecs and the Inca. All the head cutting offs and the heart cutting out stuff. African culture was pretty fucked too. European culture was fucked since its inception, and the Middle East is still fucked to this day. So, as far as I know, I'm ranting right now, but humans just suck across the board, and everybody's like saying, "Oh, we suck less; these people suck more," and I think all humans just suck.
everybody sucks.
Oh yeah, like humans, just humans in general. We have the capability of great harm and also great good, but it's only by our own metrics that we call it good or bad as well. Like our culture has evolved into what it is now, and what, let's say 1,000 years from now, we'll see ourselves as barbaric. You know what I mean? Com- just like we see our past as barbaric, where there will be a future time if we survive that we're going to see ourselves as like simple-minded and barbaric or uneducated or uncultured or whatever the fuck. You know, if there is anything that we could call advancement, for our future, there's going to be a time where the things that we're doing and saying today would be considered barbaric and insane. So I'm not giving any credence or respect to the past because all of our ancestors have done a bunch of fuck shit like since inception. Like I'm not trying to shit on the Muslim culture, but it's basically built off of a dude that took a 9-year-old girl as a wife, and basically killed a bunch of people by the sword and spread the religion by violence. And Abrahamic culture isn't that much better, when it comes to like the Jewish and Christian, you know, culture, because there's a lot of, from the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition and, the horrors of World War II. There's plenty to see that, religion hasn't really done much but fuck the world up a little bit more too. Humans just suck. It doesn't matter what kind of culture or religion you give them, they're gonna find a way to use it to fuck some shit up. It is, and it's kind of sad. I agree with that. Like, if you try to act like weak or like timid or like unsure of yourself or vulnerable in any way, shape, or form, people like take advantage of that. But also, if you try to be too cunning and too strict and too like overbearing, they demonize you for like being overly masculine or insane or something like that. There's a hell of a double standard going on. Hey, Bumbleclot, welcome, my friend. Hey, everybody, by the way, welcome to the chat. I'm just going on about people being insane and killing each other since the dawn of time. Like, even though I love Native American culture, I will not deny the fact that if you look up the statistics, the most cannibalism ever experienced on the face of the earth was mostly done on the North American plain. A lot of cannibalism, a lot of sacrificing shit to the sun so that it can wake up the next day, kind of shit. But it's not like Europeans and Africans and Mediterranean people were doing much better. I'm just saying, like, there was no type of human on this earth that is immune to the fucked up shit that they did. Is all I'm saying. It's pretty good. How's your day? Hey, catch you later. Thanks for stopping by, and it was nice talking with you. It was definitely, it started off as Happy Traders Day, and then we started going on about how humans are just fucked up. But I don't know. I don't think people pay as much respect to the fact that everybody's like, oh yeah, the European culture fucked up America. I was like, America was fucked before we got here. I don't know if y'all fucking read its history. And it was already fucked before we got here. They were doing a lot more fuck shit than we could ever imagine. There was a reason we called them savages. I mean, it's not like we were less savage or less barbaric ourselves. We were fucked up for what we did and everything that we did. But comparison is the thief of joy, and it's also the thief of reality as well, because, like, bloodshed is bloodshed. Brutality is brutality. Sacrifice is sacrifice. It's barbaric and nonsensical. It doesn't matter which god you're doing it to. Whether you call it the sun god, whether you call it Baal, whether you call it Moloch, whether you call it frickin' Yahweh, whether you call it Allah, it doesn't matter what you're sacrificing to. You're literally shedding blood of a creature that could have lived a life and contributed to existence, and took that away just because you have primitive beliefs. You know, humans suck. That's what it is. I know I'm weird, but I think too many people are like they'll pick a culture and they'll say that that culture is the most fucked, and I'm like, no, 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 that's not fair. You know, soccer was created by people kicking heads around. Just saying. I mean,
Yeah.
soccer was like there's a lot of interesting things that humanity will tell you. Like, there was like a psychotic lady that was in World War II. She was like a guard for like the women's prison, and like during the Holocaust, there was this lady named, what was it? I forget her name, but she was freaking insane. She was like the most sadistic lady you would ever meet. And they caught her. She tried to escape under an alias, but they got her and they hung her for it in Britain, I'm pretty sure. But there's like some of the people throughout history, even the most unlikely figures that you would expect, humans have uh, done some terrible things, y'all. And this seems to be a motif for me tonight. I need to turn it around and make it a little more positive. There's also a lot of good things that people have done. You know, people have done a lot of selfless acts and gone out of their way to help others as well. There's not, you know, just shit, I guess. Like, there's a lot of shit you can say about Gandhi, but he literally starved himself until the British left frickin' India. And that was, like, literally what he did. Like, he said he was going to starve himself if they don't fucking stop, like, trying to take over a thing. And he was, like, a figure that everybody in India respected, and they would have caused, like, war and, like, disorder and chaos amongst the culture. And literally him starving himself, like, made like a weird peace campaign of the British leaving. Essentially, their colonizing of freaking India, and that was interesting. You know, there's people like that. There's all these mythical figures throughout time. Like, it's hard to say whether Buddha or Jesus existed. There are a lot of, you know, historical records for Jesus and Muhammad, I guess, because there was a lot of bloodshed and you know, records being passed along during those times. But eh, there's a lot of selfless acts out there, I suppose, that, you know, there's redeeming qualities for humanity. It's not all shit. So there's a rumor that Israel's going to attack you guys again. And I wouldn't deny it, because Israel is, the Hebrew people of the world have nothing to do with the actions thereof Israel. It's literally just a war machine funded by America, and it's just it's a strategic place for us to basically gain control over the world affairs. It's like a game of chess, essentially. And world powers, they don't own a country. It's not America against these other people. It's literally just billionaires shifting power back and forth so that they can, you know, carve the world up more finely amongst themselves. All this stuff, like all these different countries, all these different nations, all these different governances, all these different states. It's literally just a pissing contest. It's a distraction so that they can basically shuffle around power right under our noses so that they can keep themselves wealthy and powerful, and so that they can feed the machine, essentially. Yeah. And we're what feeds the machine? We, the people. We give our lives daily to an idea of progress that's literally just draining our livelihoods away, and we think that our cheap like technologies and our what we've gained in society is like good for us, like we're benefiting from this, but we're not. Like, there's people that are starving to death in a country that's considered a first world country. You know, there's so much going on that could be dealt with if we have more than the capacity to fix the problems of the world, but we don't because the world is ran by essentially an idea or a machine. Essentially like everybody just keeps working towards this idea of progress, and progress is never made. It's always economic growth, economic growth, economic growth, economic growth, and no matter what happens in between, it's just like spoils of war essentially. It's, and they don't care about us. They literally could not give a fuck about us. And the people in power, it's hard to say that they're actually pulling the strings. It's like the strings are pulling them. They're just benefiting from the aftermath. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that there's like a cabal of people pulling the strings. I think we're all lost in this sick little game, and we were just born on the wrong side of the chessboard. You know? Like, they say that the strong eat the weak, and the strong do eat, even parasites. Honestly, like a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of young parents and stuff in America are going to have a really hard time taking care of their children and everything because they're trying to cut taxes like out completely. But that means like people aren't going to get a child tax credit anymore, and literally we're going to gain $200 in taxes that we don't have to pay each year, but we're going to lose thousands of dollars in government assistance essentially for parents that pay into the social security system and everything. Like, people don't realize it, but America, even though it's fairly wealthy, there's going to be a lot of people that get shot in the foot for what's going on. I'm not really into politics, but I can tell you that a lot of young families are going to have a harder time buying homes, taking care of their kids. They're not going to have the financial ability to pay for childcare. It's going to be fucked, and that's just, I know that's as it pales in comparison to what's happening in the Middle East, but the world's fucked. It's definitely gonna get harder for everybody collectively really soon because there's a shifting of power going on where everything's moving away from the idea of compassion and it's just moving towards efficiency. Everybody's just thinking about efficiency, 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 and they don't seem to realize that efficiency doesn't feed them, the people. It only feeds the machine. They've never learned. They've never learned from like all the past presidents, all the past monarchs, all the past dictators, all the past rulers, that literally every amount of progress is never given back to the people. It is only fueled by the people, and they are the cannon fire or the fuel of the fire that drives the machine. They never benefit from it whatsoever. What they do get is the illusion of control and some meager benefits to keep them sedated and stupid, essentially, to what's really going on. Like our phones. We all just scroll through our shit. And, we get paid shit hours and everything just to come home and doom scroll on our phones and barely get enough sleep and feed ourselves literal garbage just to, go work again and keep feeding a machine that literally could give a fuck about us if we died the next day. You know? Eh, just saying, like, Moloch no longer needs child sacrifices. It has literally become the force that our entire world is driven by. It does not need you to believe in it anymore. You feed it regardless. You feed it everything. Every person, children and adults, all literally like piss away their lives feeding the machine, learning how to be subservient, and literally just putting in their entire lives to feed a system that doesn't care about them, instead of living freely, instead of gaining from love, family, and unity. It's just a system that wants to keep growing just for the system's sake. It's not for the people's sake. It's not for any advancement of good. It's just for the advancement of advancement. It's the advancement of its potential to grow stronger. and nobody sees it. Nobody seems to care. It's been happening for millennia. It's just been evolving. And now, all these things that we used to call like demons and all this other shit, it's just turned into governments. It's just turned into entities and bodies. It's hidden by paperwork. It's no longer spells. It's just it. You know what I mean? Like everything's changed basically to where people are still a slave to this entity that cares not about them. It only cares about advancing itself and growing itself wherever possible. And it's literally the same idea as Moloch back in the day, where people would blindly sacrifice their children to the flames because they were afraid that they were going to lose a war or not get enough rain for their crops and stuff. And to this day, we literally endlessly send our children to school to become indoctrinated into a system. We send ourselves to work and piss our lives away to build a system that doesn't care about us. We don't ever gain really much from it, and they can take it away from us the second we stop working for them. You know what I mean? Like it's we don't own shit. Like I don't own this house. The second I stop paying taxes on this house, they take it right away from me. I do not own this house. I have the privilege of having this house if I play their little game, and that's how it works. So people don't really understand how fragile this little game that we're playing is, and we think that, oh, as long as we do the right thing, as long as we do what the masters say, as long as we follow our path and do what we're told, we'll get our goodies and everything will be fine. But the second you stop doing that, the second you stop feeding the system will eat you. And it's just the truth. Like this, if me and Courtney stopped working today, we would not make enough money to feed our livelihood. Things would get harder, and then we would be back at square one. Like everything good that we have is only here because we are pissing our lives away to a system that doesn't care about us. We have to keep doing so because the system is so strong. It is everything. It is the power that is. What is the golden rule? Whoever has the gold makes the rules. Like the system that is, if we don't adhere to it, they will take it right away. I own this house. I don't. The second I stop paying taxes, they will come up and scoop this shit right up from underneath my feet and take it away. You know what I mean? Yeah, they just drive off with a flatbed, right? They just scoop the bitch up from under our feet. But no, the reality is that like we as humans tried to build something bigger. We all wanted to build a society to make something greater than ourselves, and something greater than ourselves has been created. It's a system now, and AI is about to take over it, and it's about to become even more advanced, and we're going to be even more insufficient and obsolete if we don't play our part. At some point, we're going to be rendered useless until we realize what's going on. Imagine being 20 and knowing all this. I'm 33, but yeah, imagine being 20 and knowing all this. Imagine being freaking 16 and knowing all this. You just see a system that no matter what you do, you can't break it. Like, if everybody collectively stopped feeding the system right now, that would work. But people are so indoctrinated, it wouldn't work. It literally couldn't work. And we have such a powerful military complex that they could literally just throw people in concentration camps until they start behaving again, utilizing fear and deceit and propaganda just like they have done before. It's literally a system. We either follow the system or they whip us into shape until we do it again. Alligator Alcatraz. Huh. Mm-mm.
Detention center, the building in the Everglades in Florida. It's just a big ass kennel for humans.
It's a big ass kennel for humans. Did you see that mass coffins all throughout New Mexico? Like literally, they have enough coffins for like mass graves for over like 100 million people. Like they have enough frickin' plastic frickin' bins that could fit mass graves of humans that could fit about 100 million people. That's what are they planning? What do they need that for? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do they need all these cages? Why do they need all that? Because they're anticipating people are going to revolt. They're anticipating people are going to become wise that the system's fucking them over, and they're just going to utilize fear, propaganda, and, you know, like they've always done, just to whip us back into shape, back into doing what they tell us to. Because if we all collectively stood against them, it scares them. So they just utilize the powers that we feed them. We feed the military complex, we feed everything that they have, and people are so desperate to make a living nowadays that they're willing to do terrible things just to feed their families. You know, it's not going to stop. We simply don't have the power to stop this. It's going to happen. They're going to do what they want. All we can do is just try to enjoy our lives and try to have some semblance of hope within this cage that we built for ourselves. Because literally, mm, at some point, we got to kind of realize that the system's here and it's not going anywhere. We built this system from the ground up and we depend on this system. And as long as we feed off of this system, as long as we all as a collective humanity depend upon this system, it's not going anywhere. As long as the masses would prefer to be complacent, stupid, and just do as they're told, this is going to continue. And trust me, there's a lot more stupid people out there than there are intelligent people willing to challenge the status quo. So the people that are out here actually looking at the system fucking them over and looking at things the way that it should be and the way it is, there's not enough of us to change what is. Trust me. There's plenty of stupid people out here that are more than willing to be complacent and do as they're told and literally kill men, women, and children that don't deserve it as long as they get a big enough paycheck to support their family. Because it's apathy. It's literally they just disassociate from other people. They call somebody else other, treat them like they're a different person, and then they're willing to do the worst shit to them. That's World War II. It's what we're doing right now with each other as a country in the United States. We're literally right versus left, you know, fighting over ideals. We're the same people from the same American homes and same American families. The Middle East, they're all related to each other, same cousins, brothers, sisters, uncles, and they're all fighting each other to death because of rich assholes that don't give a shit about them. And as long as there's stupid people willing to kill for money, there will always be this problem. I'm not saying like this to be an asshole, but the reality is that there's not enough intelligent people to turn the tide. There isn't. There really isn't. If there were, it would have been done by now. And who's to say that those intelligent people wouldn't just build a shittier system that would just eat itself again and build another cage? You know, ever since we started this whole thing that we call humanity, we kind of just keep making new systems. And if those don't work, we make another one and see if that one works. It's kind of what our system provides: garbage in, garbage out. I don't know if you've looked at chimpanzee cultures, but they're not too far from our own. We're pretty barbaric, and we think that we're civilized, but we're only semi-civilized beasts with baseball caps and automatic weapons, essentially, and phones, you know, that we can distract ourselves and disassociate from life after we've pissed our lives away for a system that doesn't care about us, you know. I'm gonna stop being all conspiracy theory guy tonight, I guess, because if I keep going on about this, you know, it's a motif. It's not something I want to go on about because the reality of life is that the system's here. It's not going anywhere. But you can do something about your life. You can live within this system and still have a semblance of hope and happiness. It's what you do with what you have that truly matters. And instead of trying to destroy the system, we could try to make the system better, right? We could try to change the system periodically, little by little, day by day, to give a bit of compassion, to build a sense of hope, to make it easier for people to get by without needing to depend upon the system, so on and so forth, you know? Instead of trying to destroy the system, we could weaken it from the inside out. And that's a possibility, but it's only possible if people get with it, you know? Like, let's say this: me and Courtney have an idea about building community gardens all throughout, like, random places in the United States that could take care of homeless problems. They could literally have a collective of homeless people join together and make like compounds and complexes where they live together and help each other raise, chickens, vegetables, fish, and all kinds of stuff, to where they could take care of themselves, that they don't need to depend upon the system to get them by. And there won't be starvation. There are ways to like tap into the possibilities and make things work. It's just nobody's doing it. Everybody's expecting to be handed stuff in life, and the lack of accountability and responsibility is leading people to despair and hardship. If we all join together and help each other, like we can do, we've done it before, we can do it again. There's ways to make things better. Even in this shit system, we can make something work. There's always hope. Like, as long as there's the possibility of somebody making a new idea, there's always hope that the systems that be can change. Rome fell. The Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, everything. The American Empire will fall one day. Frickin' China will fall one day. Russia will fall one day. Everything will be new. Everything will change. The only constant is change. What we need to do is retain hope and dignity and love and compassion within the chaos of this, whatever we call advancement. Instead of getting stuck upon, I guess, traditions, because that's one thing that humanity does. And instead of learning from history, we like to repeat it because our ancestors did it. And that's one of our worst habits. Steel memes, what's up? Shout out to you. Yeah, I'm just going on about how the system is fucked, but we can make it better if we want to. We don't have to be fucked over if we don't want to. We can help each other out to make it a little bit better. We can't control the world. The world's already under control. The people that have been in power probably since the dawn of time, probably. Powers shift and change, but one thing remains constant is that the majority of the people get treated like shit while a select few benefit from their hard labor. And I think what it is because there's antisocial personality disorder, autism, and other issues like that. As long as there's people out there like that lack compassion and have a very strong drive, they're going to get all the goodies and leave everybody else with shit. I don't know if you noticed that, but the people that seem to gain power or move up in these kinds of systems are the people that lack compassion and only have a very strong objective drive. And it is what it is. People that have compassion, care for their fellow man, and do things like that, they always, they get by, they take care of each other, but they never hold power. The people that hold power are the people that are willing to sacrifice everything, and the people that aren't willing to sacrifice everything are the people that don't take power. It's just how it goes. And I don't know, it just sucks that it has to be that way. Like, emotionally, Elon Musk is a fucking retard. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's a big R word, but realistically, like, socially, he is simple-minded when it comes to like socializing with other human beings. But mathematically and business-wise, he's a fucking unit. And that's why he has power. Because he may not be good at compassion, he may not be good at getting along with other people, but you know what he can do? He can line his pockets and fuck people over. That's what he's good at. And that's why he has power. Everybody that has power, they lack something that everybody else has, which is compassion, socialization. We're good at socializing. We're good at understanding each other. The people that aren't good at understanding each other, they spend hours upon day after day thinking of ways that they can get over on people that they can't get along with. And that's where powerful people come from. They feel alienated, they don't feel like they belong, and they basically become distant to people suffering, and they take power and fuck people over, and that's the powers that be. Maybe if we as a society tried to assist these kinds of people on feeling more accepted, more understood, maybe they wouldn't try to fuck us over as much. Maybe it could be a little bit our fault as well. It's hard to say. No one's tried it yet.
2016 year on drag
I feel like I'm a schizo off his meds today. I'm just talking about conspiracy theories. You said a 2014? 2000s. 2016 Buick Encore all-wheel drive. That sounds good. No more taxes on overtime. Every push has its pull. Every benefit has its problem. And I honestly am not educated enough on the tax system to even begin to talk about it. I just got to be honest with you. If I looked more into it, I probably would have an opinion, but I got to tell you that there's going to be a lot of parents that are going to be fucked over because they're not going to get the child tax credit anymore. And, that actually helped a lot of low income families take care of their kids and be able to pay for child care and housing and stuff.
You're losing more money than you're gaining.
Yeah, you're losing more money than you're gaining. You're gaining $200, maybe $250 in taxes every year, and you're losing thousands. So, do the math, There used to be a system that actually assisted low-income families, and they're literally taking that system away and making people, I guess, in higher income, middle class income, and higher class income, they're not going to have to pay taxes, and so are lower class people. They're not going to have to pay certain taxes, but we don't pay that many taxes. What system was set up was allowing certain wealthy people to take care of lower class people that weren't able to take care of their families. And now that they're doing the system the way it is, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying lower income families are going to have a very hard time taking care of their families comparatively to the way they were before.
I mean, when you get right down to it, what he's really done is, even though he might have won this bill here in 2026, they might lose.
Hey, Hoop Dog, it's been a while, man. Welcome. Yeah. What Courtney said is right. Like, it's
Representatives are going to be going up for election next year, so he could lose the House after passing this bill. It just depends on the people.
Yeah.
So honestly, next year, if you guys really do, if this really bothers you, if this really upsets you, there is something we can do next year.
Yeah, there's always a way to fix the system.
Let's support the representatives that we want to be in place in the House.
Yeah, it's always like the president is only part of the process. The representatives, the senators, your mayors and city council, like everything from the bottom up also matters. These are the people that shift power in the favor of the people. It's not just the president that holds that power, but I'm not really into politics whenever it comes to that stuff. I can just tell you that there's more than just the presidential election that has to deal with shifting favor into the power of the people. The reason our system is a three-party system, which is the executive, judicial, and legislative branch.
There's also an 80-hour work requirement in order for you to get Medicaid now, which is 2 weeks out of the month. And for somebody severely disabled, that's going to be hard to accomplish. Plus, they cut the income levels and stuff on health insurance, and made it more difficult to qualify for health insurance and food stamps and everything. And really, we're just going to have to wait to see how everything plays out and try to stick together and do what we can to, lessen the impact here and there.
Yeah. Jack Black just said that they got rid of like Meals on Wheels and stuff that was helping people. There's a lot of random things that are being essentially gotten rid of. But, there's what was that? Trump noticed that Medicaid was going to be taken out by his own fucking bullshit, and
He passed it anyway.
he passed it anyway. Yeah, he passed it anyway. He realized that he's fucking over the people that he said he was going to help, and he passed it anyway. That's the thing, is that I'm not pro Trump and I'm not anti Trump. I look at people's politics, and I can tell you that every politician that has ever come into that office has been a two-faced lying son of a bitch, whether they are left or right.
Trump is easily manipulated. That bill was so very large. It was hundreds and hundreds of pages.
They made the bill like really big.
All they did was go through and they gave him
like the cliff notes of it.
Cliff notes. This is what we'll say. This is good. This is bad. This is good. This is bad. And they just told them what they wanted to hear. And
Futures.
This has not just been this law. They've done this. This has happened in a couple laws. So.
Yeah, it's happened. That's the thing, is like, I always say don't chalk up to malice what could be chalked up to ignorance. There's a great possibility, because he's a businessman, he's not a politician. People hide shit in bills all the time. They point out the cliff notes to the people, and they're like, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that. But then there's like 15 different things hidden in the bill that they were fully fucking unaware of. And, there's a lot of shit like that. It's really complex. It's way more than people just assume.
I could see where he could be easily manipulated.
He could be easily manipulated. Like, people that do support Trump could easily, still respect the guy, because he's not an expert on politics. He never was. He just tried to get his hat in the game because I guess in his heart he believes he's doing something right. And everybody can be misguided in their own way. He's also a freaking 70-something-year-old man. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but he came from an era where, the people that are against him were literally like non-existent. Like, he came from the nuclear family kind of existence. You know what I mean? He came from the women don't say shit, they're seen and not heard kind of people. Like, he came from a completely different time. I'm not giving him support. I'm just saying I try to understand people. I'm not trying to like give any support or like credence to people's behavior, but I want to understand why people make the decisions they make, and why they are what they are, and why they do what they do, if that makes sense. So from Trump's point of view, I can see why he believes what he believes, and I can see why he might make some mistakes and certain things. But also, I'm not saying that I'm a Trump supporter, because I'm not. He does a lot of stupid shit and a lot of fucked up shit, and I can't back the guy 100%. There's things that I agree with, and there's things I totally fucking don't agree with, Same thing with the left. Like, the left just seems like a bunch of meandering babies that go around creating riots and frickin', what do they call it, virtue signaling and gaslighting people and treating people like shit in the middle of the streets. And, like, the left isn't doing themselves any justice to get any, like, leverage in the next election. I can just say that. Now, Trump has a little bit of wealth too, and that's the thing, is that he's going to benefit himself and his people in some way. He's not going to like fuck himself completely over. The only reason he tries to like pander to the lower class is because it makes him look good. It gave him popularity votes, because there's more lower class people than there are upper class people, and that's how you win votes. So he's going to pander to that, but he's also going to look out for his peeps. Those same people that hated his ass or loved his ass before, as soon as he became like the Republican, candidate, they started pretending to hate his ass. And I gotta believe that they just pretended to hate his ass. I think it's all just a pissing contest. I think it's all fake. I think that they're all just slowly playing a game of chess, moving these pieces this way and then moving them back that way, giving us the illusion of control, where really they're just moving shit back and forth in their favor so that we can't see the patterns. If that makes sense. That's what I believe. But
that's how you should be, is do it case by case.
Yeah, do it case by case.
Not based off of who you like the best.
Yeah, I would vote if I ever did vote, which I haven't recently, pretty much at all in my entire life. It would be based off of policy, not the person. I don't care about the person. I don't care about the image that they have portrayed. Policies, what you stand for, what are you trying to do, what are the means that you're going to execute this, what is your experience in this, what have you done before, has your words matched your actions, or are you a lying piece of shit? You know, like, these things matter, and you know, people don't look at that.
Democrat because you're a Democrat.
Yeah, don't vote Democrat because that's your team.
You can't just vote Republican because that's your team. You need to look at the laws that they're actually trying to pass. And
Exactly.
what they're trying to do and vote based off of laws.
Yeah, vote based off of laws, because there's some liberals that are, you know, were originally Republican, but they went liberal because they realized that Republicans were losing their mind. And it's the same the other way. There were people that started liberal that went right because people on the left were losing their minds. You should vote based off of ideas, policies, like trying to actually create change, not just being one team against another. That's just tribalism, you know?
It's not football.
It's not football. 4D chess, right? It's kind of what it is. I really believe it. I think that this whole thing that they shuffle around every 4 years is just a form of control. Like, they make us feel like we have control over our system, but really what they're doing is they're just carving up the country finer amongst themselves, the people that have power. And when eventually people lose power, eventually people conquer other people, shit happens. But the powers that be, they're going to keep winning shit in their favor, and the only way to do that is to do it in secrecy, because if other people knew what they were doing, they would try to stop them. The best way to do something in secrecy is not to allow the people that would have the ability to change it to be aware of what's happening. Best way to do that is to make them think that they're in control of how that works. They think they're in control of the elections and everything. It's like, no, well, yeah, you're in control of these. Yeah, you vote for these people and those people, but these people are all on the same team, and you didn't realize that the game is rigged. The table is tilted. You know? The dice are loaded. You know? The deck is fixed. You know, there's a card counter. You know, nothing's fair. Lack of education. Literally, look up the Rockefellers and how the public schools were created in America. And the system that they started is literally the same system that we use right now, is to keep people uneducated on what they actually need to do to gain power and build generational wealth. Instead, they teach people how to be subservient workers and obedient conformists, essentially, to the American consumer culture. That's just America. Let's just generalize for that, because that's where I'm at and that's what I know more about. Literally, look up the public school system and the Rockefellers. Look up any random conspiracy theorist, dude. There is so much in depth with that still to this day is the same system. If you look in schools, they literally have the same like blueprint as prisons. If you go to a high school and you look at a prison, they literally have the same blueprint for their cafeterias, their seating areas, their cubicles. It's literally just keeping people in line.
You weren't taught how to succeed. You were taught how to conform. You're taught how to do the math, how to do the reading, how to be smart enough to do what you needed to do.
How to be smart enough
to grow up and to get a job.
Yep, basically just to be smart enough to get a job. That's all the public schools offer. They don't teach you how to do your taxes. They don't teach you how to build generational wealth. They don't teach you about war bonds, about how you can do you can get you can do bonds in gas and oil. They literally don't go down. They just stay either this way or they go up. Like literally you could so many different things that you could do to pass on generational wealth. They don't teach you that shit because they don't want you to learn that shit, because as long as they can obtain it and it's accessible to them and you know just enough to get by, that makes the system work for them. They're literally not hiding shit. Everything is out there for you to learn. You just have to be willing to look for it. And that's why they can get away with it, because they're not hiding anything. It's all out there. They're just making sure that the people in the lower class don't have access to it unless they have the will to search for it. Hi, Sawyer. Critical thinking. Checking facts. Reading is fundamental. Exactly. Like people, hell, even the most basic shit, like in our kids' school, they learn how to write in cursive, but in most public schools, they don't teach kids how to even sign their fucking name anymore, and it's sad. You know, our school for our kids does it, but we're in kind of a small town, rural Ohio, and a lot of people are kind of privy to how fucked the system is, and they kind of work with it themselves. Families come together and work as like a village here. That's kind of why we moved here, is because if you live in big cities, the more fucked you are. Like if you go and live in Alaska right now, you couldn't afford. It would take a whole week's fucking pay just to go to the grocery store. Like you would go to the grocery store and spend a whole week's fucking pay if you lived in Alaska, if you lived in Oregon, if you lived in certain places. Big cities, fuck no. Especially if you're a smoker. If you smoke cigarettes, you couldn't afford your cigarettes. Especially if you lived in New York or Myrtle Beach or freaking, you know, in different places in California, you know. The bigger the city, the more fucked you are. The more rural you are, it's not as exciting. It's not as enticing, but you do have the ability to gain more of the community, get people to join each other, help each other, work together to make things better. And that's the thing, is that people want the big city. They always put on blast on the internet, like you want to go to the coolest places, the coolest beaches, the coolest this, the coolest that, all the newest attractions. Instead of learning how to live in the moment, to appreciate the finer things in life, the simpler things, the things that matter, you know, right before you die kind of thing, you know. There are ways to get past this. It's just the way the system is built, like the public schools and everything. They teach you to basically conform to a system that really doesn't give a shit about you. And if you were just intelligent enough to break out of that mental habit that they build for you, you can break out of that. Like you can build generational wealth. You just have to want to do it, get to know the right people, and like, but that's the thing, is when you're in lower class, they don't give you the building blocks to do that. So that by the time you actually learn it in your 20s or your 30s, you don't have the financial means to do it because you have so much fucking student loan debt and all that other shit. You don't learn about credit and how all that shit affects you later on in life until it really fucking hits you in the fucking gut. You know what I mean? And they kind of keep preying on that because they can benefit from it while we're fucked by it. You know, they can have us keep working hard while they keep gaining hard for nothing. Like there's people out here that do piss to nothing physically or mentally, and they make hella money. And then there's people out here busting their ass day by day just trying to pay the bills. And it's sad. When are we starting the community? I'm buying a trailer park, free land for the people. Honestly, like if people join together as a unit, you know, they could, you know, keep the taxes paid. They could keep everything paid up and everything. They could do little micro jobs that still contribute to society and the community, work together to make a bigger future for each other. Because we're never going to escape the system, but we could work together to not be crushed by it, if that makes sense.
Well, if you ever do that, I'm studying permaculture and designing low-effort, self-sustaining gardens that provide free food with little cost and very, very little effort after you set it up.
Yeah, it's called permaculture, like hugel beds and stuff like that. It's basically a self-sustaining garden where, let's just say you get a pond of fish and you basically irrigate the fish nitrates from the fish poo into your hugel bed culture. That gives it all the phosphorus and nitrates that it needs. You don't need to use fertilizer. You can use rotten logs and stuff in your hugel culture bed so that you basically have everything decomposing, keeping it warm. You can get more yields and stuff. There are ways to build gardens to where they're basically like food forests. They just grow themselves. You don't have to tend to it. All you have to do is pick it whenever it's ready.
In fact, we started one this year out there in straight up gravel. Like, we didn't loosen it or anything.
Yeah, we started on gravel like nothing. We just had rotten logs, dirt. We had gravel on the ground. We just put rotten logs on the ground, put some branches, put some hay, and then we just put some dirt on top of it, and literally we have all kinds of tomatoes, we have all kinds of cucumbers, we have all kinds of green beans, watermelons growing, and we've done nothing. We've touched nothing. We haven't added any fertilizer. We haven't even watered it. And it's growing perfectly. The tomatoes, the cucumbers are fine. And we've had somewhat of a heat wave and a bit of a drought, and we're still doing fine. This is actually a good system that Courtney's been studying and putting into. So that trailer park that you're talking about, there's ways that people can join together. You have the land, somebody has the means to grow stuff. Some people knows how to keep livestock with minimal space, like chickens, like fish, other things that don't need to, fart up as much methane in the air. There's ways to get by and be healthier as well,
I've been putting a lot of effort into this design because
She
I have
has.
a garden, but we don't always have enough time to tend to the garden every day. I'm sorry, I'm still in my uniform.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize that she was still in her uniform. Sorry.
I'm like just squishing down into the bed.
Squeeze. But no, she's actually been really getting in depth, like down to a science with it. We're making scalable models so that we can make bigger models and we can get grant funding to do this. And that's the thing, is that there's always going to be grant funding. There's always going to be ways out there that you can basically get paid to just make shit happen.
Well, it is.
And that's literally what it is. And you can...
It really is a biodynamic farm because the bed itself is essentially like a compost pile. Yep. Because the wood acts as a big sponge and it collects the water. And as it collects the water, it will release the water in case of a drought and water itself. But it'll actually go through and start to slowly decompose the logs, the twigs, the yard waste, your vegetable scraps, whatever you threw in there.
And just like a chaotic forest bed,
it slowly releases the nutrients, just like it happens in the natural forest, where the branches, the leaves, all that stuff breaks down, and it slowly releases the food out to the plants without overwhelming them with harsh chemicals.
And yeah, you can let basically whenever it's fall and things die, you let those things die, decompose, and become dirt. You let it grow as a forest naturally. You pick the fruits whenever they're in season, and you have certain plants that complement each other next to each other so that they can benefit each other. You wouldn't put like a whole bunch of like thistles and shit around frickin' like grapes, right? You would make sure that you would put like sweet basil around tomatoes because they get along.
They do. They actually enhance it for those flavors, and then marigolds attract pests. And then bees are super important too. We actually have
bees are important. Bee colonies.
This is a test plot. Like, I'm gonna sound a little bit crazy, but we have 78 marigolds out there in that 12-foot by 8-foot or 12-foot by 4-foot bed. And then there is 11 of the nasturtiums, which are another type of flower. They attract the pests away from your vegetables.
Yeah, there's natural ways to get rid of all the bugs and all the snails and everything. There's ways to do it without pesticides or any unnatural fertilizers or anything. Nature can grow as long as it has all the necessary parts. So basically, the only effort you would put in is just starting the son of a bitch, and then it grows itself, essentially. So you're not having to tend to the garden. Literally, it tends to itself, and you can add to it as you go and as you gain more land. Because if you're literally feeding your community in this garden, you're not spending money on all these vegetables and stuff like that. You're saving yourselves money. You can slowly accumulate enough money to get more land, to make more food, to get more people in, to make it easier for that system to keep growing and thriving.
And I mean, I want to put it out there that I'm not saying that
living soil.
That we need to go through, and that's exactly right. You need living soil, but we're never going to completely replace horticulture. Okay, that's not the goal.
That's not the goal to replace horticulture.
Horticulture isn't ever going to be replaced. It's a necessary part of our economy.
Yeah.
However,
there's ways to use permaculture.
Is actually very fragile, and you have to think about the natural disasters and wartime.
Like, remember when the Dust Bowl happened in America?
Yeah.
The Dust Bowl literally almost crippled America because all the crops fucking died.
When the trucks stop, when the truckers can't move, then America gets, then we're hurt. We can't really do anything. The cutbacks to all the food pantries and everything. It doesn't hurt to have a little extra food around your house.
Exactly.
And
so these permaculture beds, like, so many people have extra yardage for no reason, just sitting there. Just, you know what front lawns were for? They were rich people saying, look at all this land that I have that I'm not putting to use. That's literally what front yards frickin' came from, was rich people saying, look at all this land that I have that I'm not even using because I don't need to. That's what it came from. And now everybody's got to have just a big ass grassy plain in their front yard or their backyard. You can utilize your land in very small areas to get yields that you wouldn't believe, especially with community gardens. Like, if you come together as a community, like a trailer park has like one big community garden right between it or behind it, you'll be surprised that that community could sustain itself, especially if they had some chickens and some fish, like if they had a natural pond that they could irrigate that frickin' water from, use the nitrates from the fish poo so that they don't have to use phosphates or nitrates and stuff, like unnatural chemicals as fertilizers. Like, there's ways to let nature, if that makes sense, I guess. Like, you got to let nature do its thing, and we can give it some assistance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it is, and it doesn't take a lot. I mean, there's ways that we can help each other, like seed sharing, and people are great at canning, people are great at storing. Like, you can do classes, you can do it can be a community get together. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
It could just be for fun and see how it works. Like, you have there's really nothing to lose and all to gain. Like, imagine all that free fruit, all that free vegetables. We can teach people how to do preservatives and stuff, like our ancestors did during hard times. There's ways to make natural medicines, like the Amish. The Amish have been getting by here in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia for so long because they know how to do this shit. They literally do it all the time.
And just imagine if we could actually make the healthy food the cheap food ones.
Yeah, make the healthy food the cheap food. You know how getting the healthy food is always expensive because they always overprice it and shit?
But what if we can make it free? They're freaking plants.
Like, asparagus shouldn't be so goddamn expensive. I can grow asparagus. It's so easy to grow.
Asparagus comes back year after year after year. You will only have to plant it once.
Yeah, change with the seasons, right? It is pretty cool. I mean, honestly, Hoop Dog, me and Courtney have really been putting like our money on this because it bears the most fruit, and that's not just a pun. Like, literally, our small garden that we have, it's our first step in a scalable model for us to get grant funding so that we can actually make this a possibility, and we could go around teaching people how to do this, not only in America, but all around the world, and arid places, all kinds of places around the world, where we can try to see how we can utilize human behaviors to help nature a little better, to make it work, if that makes sense. Instead of following the horticulture system, it would be permaculture. It's like helping nature help itself, doing what nature does naturally, but only giving it a little assistance so it works for itself. And it's learning to understand nature and help nature grow instead of taking away from it, like we have done. We've just gotten so used to systems like terraforming and horticulture that it's just been ingrained in our systems. And now we know better. Now we understand plants and the systems of nature so much better that we can work with nature to make it better. We just have to change our minds, change our perspectives, and work towards the positive side instead of just what we've grown used to.
Unfortunately, now in urban areas, the soil is so compact and devoid of nutrients that you have to add things to the soil in order to have a successful garden if you live anywhere near houses and stuff. Especially if you have a lot of grass.
If you have a lot of grass, because it stills nutrients and it keeps compacting.
Yeah.
If you live in a city area, it's really compacted because of all the cobblestone, all the, they keep putting new asphalt, new concrete, and everything down.
That's why we were designing this system, and I recommend looking into the Google beds because you don't have to till into the ground. It's a raised bed type situation, but you're not filling it full of a ton of dirt. You don't have to water it as often. It feeds itself. I mean, it's 100% controlled, and I will honestly keep recommending it because you can keep changing it.
You can change it to fit your environment and how you want to do it, because every environment's different. If it's hilly, if it's flat, if it's near the beach. But the hugelkultur system is literally so fluent and adaptable that that's like the best system that we've found. And it's definitely something to look up. Permaculture, hugelkultur beds, just give them a quick look up, because that will send you down a rabbit hole that will make way more sense. Like it's literally a science like that's been poorly it hasn't been given much credence lately because not a lot of people talk about it, but it has so much potential.
That's because there is only money in monocropping.
There's only money in monocropping because there's only legal systems set up for them to get funding for it.
Government funds monocropping.
Yeah.
But the government also funds community projects.
Yep, they
also funds healthy things. It
helping with homelessness and poverty and
environmental improvement.
Yeah.
And community bonding. There are ways to get around that.
There's ways to get around. You don't have to label it as farming. There's so many other ways you can get funding for your stuff without having to label it as farming.
They will fund a community garden, and here's the thing: is that every city gets funds for community development, but most of the time they don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
They don't know how to use them, and if they don't request them and use them, then they just go away again.
Yeah. The Amish is a great example. They literally are a people that live amongst us as we've industrialized, and they haven't wavered from their systems. They have ways of preserving things and making things to this day that would impress people, and it's very simple, very wholesome methods. And honestly, they don't keep them secret. You can go right into an Amish village and buy shit from them, and they will tell you every ingredient that they put into it. They will show you the process because they're interested in showing people.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you want to get into our lives? Yeah, look.
Yeah, you can even go to Amish restaurants and stuff now. And
they're not a hidden people. I mean, they are stuck in their ways and they believe what they believe in.
You don't really see Amish children.
You don't really see Amish children. They kind of keep them away from us because they don't want to have them indoctrinated into our system. But they, as adults, don't mind showing their ways because they want people to become like them because they believe it's good. They've lived that way for hundreds of years and they have taken care of themselves and they're still here thriving to this day. Like, the Amish are a wonderful example of how systems can work as long as people work together to make them work.
No, by all means, I'm not saying go off grid, throw
not
internet,
You can still have internet. You can still work you can still have like a remote job. A lot of people do remote jobs nowadays where they can get a job on the internet and somehow travel and be able to do stuff. There's so many things you can do now that technology is advancing. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to take our advancements and get back to a little bit of base level with nature and still also use our technological advancements to make things better. You don't have to be boring and frickin' Amish. It's just they're a good example that there's a possibility of doing that. It's not just history. It's not just hardship. There's ways of doing things without it being so difficult, I guess. We're more intelligent now. We have systems, we have methods that we understand way better now. And if we utilize them in order to help nature instead of to fight against it, if we learn to do things just a little differently, think outside of the box, instead of having a house that's surrounded by acres and acres of freaking grass that doesn't grow anything, grow a freaking little farm, a little bit of, have a vineyard. You could have some people grow a vineyard and they grow all the grapes, have some people grow all the freaking fruits and watermelons, have everybody else have the chickens. You could have a whole ass community, like a village, working together to help each other. And instead of bartering and all that stuff, you literally just help each other grow. And literally you can still have jobs at the same time, because with this hugelculture and permaculture system, it would essentially grow itself. So you would have hella free time to do whatever the hell you want. Kind of. That's why the system, the hugelculture permaculture system, it would be so beneficial, because the only labor you have to put into is setting it up. It would run itself. How could COVID affected the Amish communities? Well, honestly, I've asked a few of them and they said, I haven't noticed that anybody got any sicker. Huh? They did?
Well, they didn't. The Amish people didn't practice any precautions.
They didn't practice any precautions, so I think they might have gotten affected.
They still went to church and gatherings. It was actually the Amish people. They got sick in droves at first, and they didn't really go to the hospital because they don't really do that unless they're dying.
Get her done. Welcome. Sorry.
And they didn't get any vaccines. So.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Get her done said get a composter in the same time by black dirt, and that goes a long way. Yeah. Literally just keeping your rotten fruit and stuff that you don't ever use and stuff, random shit that's just like wasted vegetables that people just throw in the trash or whatever. There's ways to make compost bins that literally make fresh frickin' fertilized soil. Like, it's literally, soil is just decomposed organic matter. And if, like, we use maple for our hugelculture beds because it's more beneficial, if we use something like black walnut, it would have killed everything. Like, there's ways to like learn what's beneficial, what's bad, what's good for your system, what's not.
Maple is a good safe wood to throw.
Maple's a good hardwood that, yeah, the older the better, because it's already started decomposing.
Just try to make sure it's not like already
fresh. Yeah.
It's not already dirt.
Make sure it's not already dirt, and make sure it's not like super fresh. You know, rotten logs are all throughout the forest and stuff. And if you gather just, let's say, about 30 rotten logs, and you make like a 13 by 4 square foot area of a little garden, and you just throw a little dirt on top of that with some compost and some hay, some twigs and everything, it would decompose, and eventually planting everything there, it would grow. That's literally what we did. We just put some logs down. We put some branches down. They were all maple. And then we put some alfalfa hay down. And then we just put some dirt on top of it. And then we planted our seeds. And our stuff is thriving. We haven't touched it once. We haven't watered it. And we've had a heat wave. And we haven't got much rain. It's going just fine. We literally have barely touched it. And our tomatoes, our cucumbers, our watermelon, everything, our green beans, they're doing great. The proof is in the pudding. You know?
All I've done was planted flowers. I haven't actually.
I'm a little Amish-looking redneck. Yeah. That's insane how easy it can be to make a thriving garden. Well, it's just you got to understand what you're working with and what you have. And before, we used to suck at gardening. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And then Courtney started studying permaculture, and it literally took off. Like, she just automatically grew a green thumb overnight just because she started freaking studying the permaculture methods, different plants, and which ones benefit each other. You know,
I am not cut out for horticulture. I cannot keep up with all the chemicals and trying to add the additives to the soil.
That's what it is. That's too much human interference. There's a way to work with nature's natural processes. The Irish literally to this day have methods that are basically what started to be permaculture. There's so many different cultures out there that have already been doing this for a while.
Do you think culture beds are German?
Yeah, Hugin culture beds. That's German. That's literally, it was a German thing, and that's where it's
It's an ancient German.
it's an ancient Germanic farming method that helped them keep things growing during droughts and stuff. They were literally just make food forests.
But you guys should look up the Green Belt Project.
Yeah, look up the Green Belt Project. Look that up. It would interest you.
Oh yeah, because they just want to sell their own products.
Yeah, they want to overcomplicate things so that they can sell their products. Like, look at it this way.
I can't
Did
sell
you
you a stick.
Did you know? Yeah, you can't sell somebody a stick. If you knew how easy it would be to grow a garden was just to go out in the woods and grab some decomposing shit, put it in a bed, and then just throw some fucking dirt on top of it and make sure that you keep adding organic matter to it.
Like, if I told you that it was free, then what am I going to sell you?
Yeah, they can't sell you shit if they told you it was free. Just like, look at it this way. Dandelions, they grow all over the continental United States, and the biggest company that has the poison that kills it is the people that sells heart medication. They're the leading heart medication distributor. And did you know what dandelions are good for? Your heart health.
But do you want to know what's actually even more funny is that one of the biggest problems with us growing our own food here is that the land is too compact. Well, the dandelions are what actually, make it broken up because of their deep tap roots.
I'm making fried bannock with pureed egg and milk in it. Interesting.
I don't know what a bannock is.
Bannock.
Is it a fish?
I had a lot of dandelion wine out here. Oh, yeah. The dandelion is actually good for you. You can do teas. You can literally eat the frickin' greens like it's arugula, essentially. And it's good for you.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too crazy about dandelion.
I'm not too crazy about dandelion greens. They're not really the best.
Good for the bees,
and they're good for your heart health too. So like, there's what else is it? You can do honey and garlic, ferment it, and it's good for like coughs and like antiseptic or like cough medicine during like times when you're sick.
Did you know that a dandelion is the first flower a bee will look for, and if it can't find a dandelion, it might starve to death?
It's a flatbread.
Oh, cool.
Native fry bread, basically. So it's sort of like naan bread or tortilla, sort of.
Oh, and when we're sick, I make a terrible tea that he hates, but I make him drink it anyway.
And same with blueberry. Blueberries are good for you too, antioxidants and stuff. Did you know that? Sorry. Did you know that part of like people like blending up their stuff is bad for them because part of eating fruits, like chewing it up, that process is actually good for you. Whenever you just drink it like that, you don't. It doesn't mix with the enzymes of your spit as much, and it doesn't actually give you the benefits that it needs. That's why a lot of people actually gain weight drinking smoothies instead of losing weight. Like bananas actually have a lot more. Like, did you know that? Like,
Spicier.
Yeah, they're spicier when you blend them. They get mad at you.
I'm allergic to bananas.
It's thicker. Hot toddy. Miss Liz, 2 hot toddies.
Yeah, I always make a hot black tea, and I simmer ginger in it for a little bit, and it lets the ginger essence go out into it, and I add a local honey, and it's antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and it'll really pretty much kill anything in you if it's a respiratory infection.
Certain black teas too are anti-inflammatory too.
The black tea part is.
The black tea part is.
And then they have like different herbs and stuff that they add to it. That's why I usually get like real ginger and I'll slice it up and simmer it in there for a while. And then you add the local honey because the bees will go around and collect flowers from around you, and it helps you build an immunity to the local allergens.
Gonna batter some Philadelphia cheese, see how that turns out. Huh. That might turn out good actually. Southern tradition I picked up from my dad. Yeah. I'm going. Oh, wait. Don't make me thirsty.
Hoop Dog's in. Haven't seen Hoop Dog in a while.
I don't know.
I mean, all these things like they're great potential for people to grow communities that don't have much. They don't need much to start these things, and they can grow and expand without needing, so much assistance financially or governmentally. There's ways that we can make things like this work, and that
We
me and
can
Courtney are
grow
really
tea.
passionate about that.
Like, we can grow tea. Instead of having a holly bush, you could have a tea bush.
Yeah, instead of a holly bush, you can have a tea bush. Instead of a Japanese maple, you can have a frickin' cluster of tomatoes. Fucking,
Like,
there's things you can do besides having some whack ass garden that everybody's just gonna talk shit about in your front yard. There's so many things you could do to actually benefit yourself in the long run financially, because if you're not going to the grocery store paying ass amounts of dollars for your vegetables and your fruits and everything, it's literally in your fucking yard and you can pick it whenever you need to. You can preserve it as need be.
even if you just replace 30% of your diet from things around that you can grow around your house, that's going to save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you'll end up being healthier in the long run because it'll be cheaper and easier to get stuff at your house than it will be to go to the grocery store or to the fast food restaurant and buy something healthy.
That's why they actually say the mental health of people out in rural areas is actually greater than that of people in cities, because they're out with nature, touching nature, getting out there, literally growing their own fruit. Some say that they're actually way healthier in rural areas than they are in cities, because cities, they're just eating fast food. They're just living amongst the frickin' tailpipes and frickin' gas everywhere. And whenever you're living out in rural areas, you're just eating fruits, vegetables, farm raised, cattle, and like everything, instead of like industrialized shit.
Oh, that's cool. My grandma used to have a whole bunch of rhubarb plants at her house.
Oh, rhubarb's good. I love rhubarb.
Yeah. And my family's kind of weird, I guess, because I've never seen other people eat it.
Rhubarb pie is good.
Yeah, we just typically go through and cut it up and peel it and eat it with a bunch of salt.
Yeah, that's way a lot of people do it up here, is they'll just cut it up and eat it with some salt. They'll just dip it.
People make like rhubarb pie or rhubarb cakes or like crumbles and stuff.
Cakes and crumbles. I see those over here at the market by the house and stuff. Yeah. Those little crumble cakes and stuff.
And like, there's so many different fruits and vegetables and stuff that you just have to plant once.
Mars has some thyme and mint in the back. Yeah,
there's
cool. A lot of different plants that literally, like, there's other things that grow like wild that you can forage for too, like mushrooms and stuff. You could literally just have a few rotten logs in your backyard and you could have morel mushrooms that are worth a shit ton of money. People pay high dollar for morel mushrooms because they're fucking delicious.
Oh yeah, you can grow them in mulch if you want quick mushrooms, right? Or hay if you want quick mushrooms. Or you can even go through and drill holes in like maple logs and put in spore plugs and you cover it up.
Yeah.
And then it might take a month to get actually mushrooms first, but then they'll keep coming back for years.
Wild blackberries growing in your... Yeah, we have blackberries growing right in our front yard by our freaking thing. We didn't even notice we had them until we noticed that the birds were picking them off in this freaking spring. We're like, these little sons of bitches. They stole them. And there's other things like what they call them, leeks or whatever. It's basically it's like something that grows on the forest ground all up the East Coast, and they basically taste like onion and garlic, like literally like a mixture between onion and garlic, and they're called wild leeks. People use them like whenever they're foraging in the forest and they're like going trout fishing or whatever. They'll literally just fish for trout, pick some leeks up off the ground and fry them in a pan with some butter, and they're fucking delicious. I only got raspberries and Saskatoon berries in my yard. I would love some blackberries and blueberries.
Hoop Dog has an apple tree last, but he realized he had in his yard last year.
Oh yeah? Dude, one of our neighbors has apple orchard, and it's interesting to see how they grow it. They literally like religiously like weed eat around the base of it so that nothing tries to like take away from the nutrients of the roots and stuff. And they're just like these little. They look like Fiji apples, but they're not. They're something that grows here in Ohio, and it's just literally they grow like year round. They have apples, more apples than they could ever fucking need, and it's just an old couple. They all they do is just go out there and pick them from time to time, and let the birds pick off the rest. You know. I have no idea who that is. He could be like a fucked up individual, but I mean, RIP to anybody that, you know, might have been cool if he is cool. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if I'm giving myself into like that. I don't know who the hell that is. So, with all due respect, you know, RIP if he's a cool dude, you know. But a lot of weird people out here. I could be saying he's a soccer player. Oh well, then RIP Doggo Joda. He's a football star.
Well,
I think he's a soccer player.
different languages.
Portuguese, I believe.
Like we're speaking different languages here.
He might be
Said his name
from
wrong.
Portugal. Yeah. I might have said it wrong.
So,
Sorry, I'm only half Middle Eastern. I'm pretty white. Well, that's sad. R.I.P. R.I.P. to him. He's you know, nobody's getting out of this alive. You know, I don't like to bring up death too much myself, but it's all on our schedule. You know, at some point. And it never comes whenever you want it to. Nobody ever really expects it. And that's the one thing we all have in common. And that's all the reason to make life better for the ones we love around us, to enjoy life in the moment and try to make life worth living while we're here. You know, and to pay respect to people like him and many other people who have brought joy to many, many people, which I assume he did. Honoring their memories by keeping positivity and well-being alive. Huh? With his brother. Fortunately, no. I'm like one of the sexes from the Dark Crystal. I will live forever. Oh, those freaking weird robot things. Diogo Jata. Diogo Jata.
yes.
Diogo Jata. Yeah, dude, the Dark Crystal. That was a weird movie. It gave me nightmares growing up, and I have no idea why. Remember the Dark Crystal movie? It was like those two little elf creatures. They were like, and there was these weird, like weird robot looking like creatures. I wouldn't say they're robot, but they look like frickin' like bird face weird creatures. It was weird. They glyphing. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's been a while since I watched it, but I know what you're talking about. The Dark Crystal was I'm not even sure. We should probably watch it again, but it was like weird, like stop motion, like puppet shit almost. Like it was really weirdly like animated. It was creepy to me. He was a Liverpool player with a big team. It's too big.
I'm sorry, guys. We don't watch a lot of sports, but it's really sad.
That is sad that he passed away. We don't really follow too many sports ourselves.
We
Like,
did not see that, and
No, we didn't see that. That is unfortunate, though.
I'm not trying to be insensitive.
No, we're not trying to be insensitive. We're kind of the hang out in nature people. Whenever we do watch TV and stuff, we watch a lot of like weird animes and listen to like meditation music to go to sleep kind of stuff. We'll watch Adventure Time too. Like we're kind of nerds a little bit. So even though I'm a real Madrid supporter, when someone from our community passes away, no matter who you are from, you'll be remembered forever in football. Oh, absolutely. My uncle Frank, his name, we called him Frank, but his name was Francisco Javier. He was adopted from Spain. My father was adopted from Germany, so he's not really my uncle, but I was raised around him. I met a lot of wonderful people from that side of the family, from Madrid, Spain, and basically everybody around the world. There's wonderful cultures out there, and doesn't really matter where you come from. Like when it comes to death and whatever differences you have on your teams that you pick, life and death is no laughing matter, and life, love, and the pursuit of happiness is all that really matters at the end of the day. How many years would I live if I had the choice? Honestly, I keep telling Courtney I'm crapping out at 65, but she keeps telling me I'm not allowed to, so
It's not even the gold year.
it's not even the golden year, she keeps saying. So I told her I'll give it 78. If she'll give me up to at least 78, then I'll fucking just, she can kiss my ass, I'm out. Stop taking my heart medication and just go the natural way. Yeah, it's always a tragedy when people pass away young because of the potential of life that they left behind,
Oh, I was passed out. That's not good.
Looks like you're stuck with us then, Thomas. I know, Courtney's like a bully. She keeps making me like live longer. But bitch. What?
I was passed out for
Oh, you did? That's not good. I'm sorry to hear that, Hoop Dog. Yeah, my older sister, Bettina, she passed away. Well, it was a stillbirth or whatever, but I've never actually like met her. But my sister acted like it was a big deal and everything. When my twin brother passed away, he passed away at 25. That affected me because we were really, really close. Me and my twin brother were literally inseparable, and then out of nowhere, he just, after mom passed away, he let the last words that she said to him get to him, and he kept doing drugs and eventually, took him out. It's always sad when somebody passes young because it's the life that they left behind that could have been is always it makes it that much worse, I guess. 90-95? Well, that sounds good. I want to get grandchildren so that I can spoil their ass and send them back to my kids to get revenge on how, shitty they were. It's a joke, But that's one thing grandparents are. That's the best part of being a grandparent is that you can spoil your grandchildren and send them back to your parents, to the parents and stuff, and let them deal with the problems. Something wrong with her genes. That people that have strokes like that, like it's either medication or it's like genetic that they is having strokes that young because it's an issue with like blood clots and them, go into the brain. So she and my brother, her twin, and problems with speech and movement. Yeah. My great-great-grandpa lived to be 93, Edwin Grant, Scottish, and he was still walking but didn't talk much. It was her second stroke. So she had a stroke that debilitated her, and then after that, she had the other one that took her out. I'm sorry to hear that, Hoop Dog. My condolences. It's losing somebody young is always heartbreaking. It really is, just because it's not just the fact that there's the tragedy, it's that there was so much of their life that had potential to grow, and you lose that, and you wonder what could have been, what you could have done, maybe if there was something you had seen or something you could have done to change it. And there's a lot of self-blame and everything that comes with it as well. It's, It was of drugs, but when we got a test done on my brother, we realized it was genetic. Yeah. Well, I found out like through certain tests that me and Timmy had some issues with our hearts, but the reason he went off the deep end was because of drugs. Now that I'm clean off of drugs, my heart has actually taken a turn for the better, and it's not as abnormal, and it's, my blood pressure is stabilized somewhat. I still have high blood pressure, but it's not as bad, and it's certain genetic things, like you got to look into your family lineage, because there's certain markers and genetic traits and illnesses that you got to look for, especially on your later years. Once you get about 25, 30, you got to start looking out for your health, because that could be the difference between living 5 years or living 20 more years. Speaking of, my dumb ass is going to grab another cigarette. Every time I'm on these lives, I smoke too much. Give me your vape. I need your vape. I need marijuana. Mine's in my pocket, but it's dead. Here.
As soon as we get a new car, I want to get a Michigan.
Yeah, as soon as we get a new car, we need to go to Michigan so we can stock up on our vapage.
We're going to the Seneca Caverns and stuff.
Oh yeah, those caverns in Michigan, those are really cool.
Caverns.
The Crystal Caverns, we want to go see that. That's that's on the way.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah! So on the way from where we live to the dispensary in Michigan where we want to go to get more weed, there's a Crystal Cavern, and that's fucking awesome. So that's what our next planned trip will be, and maybe I can. I don't know if I can go live, but I can at least videotape the
We
situation.
could go live pretty much the whole trip if you wanted to.
Yeah.
We could just plug your
But I
car
mean, in the crystal caves or caverns, I doubt
Yeah.
that. We'll probably have to videotape
Yeah,
that,
we'll do
because
some
I doubt there will be
videos.
Wi-Fi there.
The only reason we haven't done that is because I didn't trust the car to take the kids that far away from the house.
Oh yeah, what Mars said. It's like he wants to live longer because it takes so long to get good at something, and if you have multiple interests, you need more time to get good at them. Hi. You should be asleep. Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. Love you.
Summer vacation.
Yeah, it's summer vacation, so the kids. We're not as strict about bedtimes as we are during school, times during the summer.
Sure she gets enough sleep.
Yeah.
But she should be in bed by now.
She should definitely be in bed by now. Oh yeah, most definitely. Well, y'all, it has been great talking with all y'all, but I do need to get me some sleep as well, and I also need to get a shower because I feel greasy. I keep going to work, and then every time I get off work, I keep chopping wood, and there's a lot of sweat that comes with that, and I need to get my greasy ass in a shower. Oh, success. The bread that he made is super fluffy and the cheese stayed inside.
Awesome.
Awesome, man. We got winter vacation now. I'm freezing my balls off.
Mars. Frickin', we could use, I don't know. I'm from the south, so it's not really as hot here. I don't really care for the cold. I hate the cold. Yeah, apparently the crystal caverns that we're gonna go visit whenever we go to get some weed, they're apparently really cool inside the caves. Apparently, like it, like chilly, like holds out heat. Wait. Well, you guys, I think I'm gonna head my happy butt up to get me a shower. Also, I close the store that I work at tomorrow. I'm closing manager, so cheers, bro. Cheers to everyone. It's been fun talking to y'all. Good night, Hoop Dog. Good night, everyone. Courtney said bye in her little blankie of cocoonage. She's cocooned in a blankie. Cocooned. Much love to you all, and it has been fun talking to every one of you. I will probably talk to y'all maybe tomorrow. I get off. I'm going to be closing pretty much every day this week at the store. So basically, whenever I get off work, I can hit on the live, talk to you guys for a bit, and then, I'll try to make this more common. But y'all have a wonderful evening. It has been great talking to each and every one of you, and I hope, that, we all have pleasant dreams and have a wonderful day tomorrow. All right. Peace, y'all.